Today we have far more details on the full contents of the new Hexfire box, the big battle box that's going to be pitting Grey Knights versus Thousand Sons. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're talking about Games Workshop's latest reveal for 40k, the Hexfire battle box, Grey Knights vs Thousand Sons, a box that's been much anticipated for quite a while. We first heard that this was going to be a thing back in Warhammer Fest, and we've seen previews of the new Castell and Crow miniature and Infernal Master over the past week or so, and now Games Workshop have chosen to lift the lid on the entire box and show us exactly what models we're going to be getting for both factions. The box is called Hexfire, Supernatural Warfare in the 41st Millennium, and quite an interesting choice to pit two of the most psyker-heavy factions in the game against each other. The Grey Knights, where literally every man is an incorruptible psyker, and the Thousand Sons, the Legion of Dust, which are presided over by a cabal of sorcerers. It's going to be interesting to see just how much of an impact it makes on the meta. Having two very psyker-heavy factions drop at once could certainly shake things up a bit. The box art is looking quite snazzy. It appears to be new art with Mr. Crow facing off against the Infernal Master, and they've gone for a fairly stylistic, maybe slightly cartoony vibe to it, which I guess kind of fits in with the magic and sorcery as opposed to some of the more grittily grounded factions. In any case, apparently this Hexfire box is going to be set within the gas giant of Hexenfast. Apparently it'll have its own mini-campaign. No idea whether they're going to be trying to tie it in with the greater Octarius narrative, or whether this is very much going to be its own standalone release. Apparently it's going to be battle for control of a gas giant that now plays home to a massive demon-infested warp rift. I wonder if the Thousand Sons might have had anything to do with that. I find it quite interesting as well that as well as just having the armies within the box, they've also included a Hexfire campaign book in here. It'll apparently give you datasheets for all the models, including the new ones, and also interestingly will include a bunch of stuff for Crusade games, some campaign-specific battle scars, relics and battle traits if you did try and refight these battles between the two armies. Unfortunately, there's still no confirmation on a release date here. We do know that the Grey Knights and Thousand Sons codexes are going to be dropping next, so I suspect it's going to be fairly soon. I'm sure Games Workshop will inform us further when we get a chance to pre-order them. It sounds like they're going to be both dropping on the same weekend as well. That'll be quite a busy one with quite a lot more content to decipher. In any case, on to the contents of the box. Obviously the flagship pieces are the Grey Knights' new Castell and Crow and the new Infernal Master. Very much seems to be a theme amongst these versus boxes. They often seem to have a new or reimagined character at the helm of each army. I'm sure this will be the first way that you can get your hands on them, then they'll see a individual release a bit further down the line, much like we got with Lilith Hesperax and the Sister Vassal Palatine. Castell and Crow was kind of notable for being a Space Marine resculpt that they didn't decide to Primaris up. It does make sense with the Grey Light lore, I guess, and it does kind of imply that they're going to be aiming to keep the Grey Knights as firstborn Space Marines, and it means that we might not see Primaris versions of them in the future, maybe just reimaginings of the old power armor kits. In the lore, he's the head of the Purifiers, supposedly the very least corruptible of all the incorruptible Grey Knights, and entrusted to wield the Blade of Antwer, a demon weapon of terrifying potency, that the Grey Knights have deemed the only way to keep it safe is to have it in the hands of their most trusted guardian. The rules for this have always been a touch underwhelming, part of the lore being that Crow doesn't wield the blade to its full potential, but they did hint in the preview that it's going to be significantly more hard-hitting. Perhaps they'll go down the angle that it's still an incredibly dangerous weapon, even if its full wrath isn't unleashed. On the Thousand Sons side, we have the Infernal Master. This guy's really quite a fun model, he's conjuring up some mini screamers there, and the lore behind him is that basically he's a master of demon summoning, and is supported by invisible minions that go about to do his bidding. In game, it looks like he's going to be kind of equivalent of a Grey Knight Chaplain, a host of 6 different demonic packs to choose from. Some of them buff his nearby Thousand Sons, and interestingly some of them can debuff nearby enemy units, something that we don't commonly see on things like Chaplains or Dark Apostles or the like. He's only 90 points, can cast a psychic power as well, and it seems like a pretty safe bet that he's going to be a strong buffing option in the Thousand Sons codex. I really quite like that power he has to make their shooting attacks 1 strength better. Strength 5 Warp Bolters and Flamers certainly look like they'd have potential. Otherwise in the box we have the Grey Knights. Castell and Crow is going to be accompanied by a Nemesis Dread Knight and a Strike Squad. Wasn't really the hardest to predict this for the Grey Knight contents, they don't really have all that many kits to choose from, and for Grey Knight specific kits we really only have the Strike Squad, Dread Knights and Terminators, unless you go down more generic Space Marine stuff or characters. I feel like the Dread Knight and the Strike Squad were good choices, particularly the Strike Marines as they can make all manner of Grey Knight squads, anything from strike squads, interceptors, purgation squads, or the purifiers to accompany Crow, though it does imply that they're not getting any sort of resculpt anytime soon, and certainly not in this release. The Dread Knight has certainly always divided opinions in its looks, but does remain the faction-specific heavy hitter for the Grey Knights, and it's quite nice to have one turn up in a discounted box so you can get your hands on them a bit easier. It's going to be interesting to see what the Grey Knight Combat Patrol box works out as being. I guess there's at least a fair chance of it being some fairly similar miniatures. Maybe we'll see some Terminators instead of one of these options. Over on the Thousand Sons side, we have the new Infernal Master, and he's accompanied by a squad of Scarab Occult Terminators, 10 Zangors, and a Zangor Shaman. I guess it was near enough guarantees that either Scarabs or Rubric Marines will be making an appearance. The Scarab Occults will be interesting to see. Nice to have them accessible in a discounted box, as the rubrics are available in their current Start Collecting box, and they could certainly be one of the ones to watch in the new codex, as they'll be going up to 3 wounds. After the Death Guard codex dropped, the Blight Lord and Death Shroud Terminators became some of the strongest units. Fingers crossed the Scarab Occults get a bit of love as well. Otherwise, the 10 Zangors look like they're going to be going down in points in the new codex. Certainly good to have them be a bit more viable than they are now. And in this box it does appear that they come with the 40k upgrade sprue as well, the one to give them chainswords and pistols. Finally, we've got the cheap supporting Zangor Shaman. Maybe not the most central character in the Thousand Sons decks. It's going to be interesting to weigh him up against sorcerers once we do have the new rules. Overall, again, it does look like a pretty solid unit mix, and it will be interesting to see what translates over into the Thousand Sons Combat Patrol. I feel likely that we'll see Rubric Marines in that, maybe plus a sorcerer or Araman. I've no doubt that the combination of this box and that Combat Patrol will really get you going with a core force for Thousand Sons. Price-wise, it seems that there's around $174 or £106 of Thousand Sons in the box. We're going by the Lord of Virulence prices for the new character, and if we do similar for the Grey Knights, they're a little bit less value at $155 or £98. This is very similar to the value that was in the Piety and Pain box for the Drukhari versus the Sisters, so I'd put a fair amount of money on it being the same price. That sold for £105 in the UK or $170 over in the US. Almost a 50% discount on the models within, provided you do want them all. In particular, I think this will be good value if you can find a player of the other army to split it with, and just get the bits that you really want. Overall, it seems like a fairly decent discount by Games Workshop's prices, presuming that estimate is right. So let me know what you think of the box. I'll be particularly interested to hear your thoughts if you're a Grey Knights or a Thousand Sons player. Is this going to tempt you enough to pick one up? If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll most certainly do full codex reviews of the Grey Knights and the Thousand Sons once they're out. It's going to be interesting to try and unpick them a bit, and try and unravel all the cool psychic combos that you'll no doubtedly have within. Finally, if you have been enjoying videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and you can find it down in the video description below. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry to the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, then the link is down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.